for joining me. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to stretch paper. First of all, what on earth is stretching paper? It's a way to prepare your paper using water and Gumstrip so that it's ready for painting. It's important to stretch your paper when you're using mediums like watercolour and acrylic. When we're painting and we apply the water to the paper absorbs it and it changes its structure. And when it dries, it will dry in an irregular shape. Once the paper is warped, you can't really make it go flat again. It's more apparent with lighter weight papers, but as a beginner, buying expensive watercolour paper isn't a very cost-effective option. So you can buy student range paper. I'm using this multimedia pad for my example. This is a brilliant paper for beginners as it's versatile, so you can use lots of different mediums on it. So I'm going to apply some watercolour paint using the Wetinwet technique to both sides. We're going to let it dry and then I'll show you the difference in the paper that we stretched and the paper that we didn't. Okay, so we've got our two pieces and you can see the difference between them clearly. The stretched paper is nice and flat, whereas the paper that we just taped with masking tape now has all these bumps and an irregular surface. So working on paper that you've stretched is going to give your artwork a more professional finish. So, how do we stretch paper? First of all, you're going to need a sturdy surface. I'm using a piece of thick MDF board. You'll need gum tape or Gumstrip. This is tape that has an adhesive surface on one side that's activated by water. You need a bowl of fresh, clean water and a soft, non-abrasive clean cloth. And of course, your watercolour paper. I tend to measure and cut the right size strip of gum tape before I start to stretch the paper. The next step is to examine your paper. Choose the side you want to work on and place it face down because we're going to wet the back first. Take the cloth or sponge and soak it. Squeeze it out a little bit so it's not dripping but it's still saturated. This is where we have to work swiftly, so take the cloth and wet the paper as evenly as you can, squeezing gently as you go to release the water. The paper should be wet but not have puddles forming. Quickly turn the paper around and place it onto the board where you want it to be stretched. So repeat the last step and wet this side. Try to do it in as few strokes as possible. It will take some practice to perfect. Take the gum strips and wet the shiny side. That's where the glue is. Once it's wet, place it onto the edge of the paper. You want to overlap at least 1 or 2 centimetres. Continue until you've done all 4 sides. Then just leave it to dry. It needs to stay lying flat on the table. It'll probably take an hour or so depending on the temperature of the room that you're in. But once it's completely dry, it should be nice and flat And that is your paper stretched and ready for you to start painting. So once you've completed your artwork and you need to remove it, I found the best way to do this is by using a scalpel to cut the artwork off the board. Then once that's safe, soak the remaining gum strip and it should peel off, or you can use a scraper. And once that's done, your board's ready to use again. And that's it. So yes, it can be a laborious process, but it's a basic technique that we learn at the start of art school, and it's handy knowledge to have. Thanks for watching. Now go and try it for yourself. Bye for now.